The interest owing to the bank had not been paid for the last 2 quarters, and fines and arrears of all sorts had mounted up to more than 2,000.
To my mind, there can be no doubt, Rashevitch went on, growing more and more enthusiastic, that if a Richard Coeur de Lion, or Frederick Barbarossa, for instance, is brave and noble, those qualities will pass by heredity to his son, together with the convolutions and bumps of the brain, and if that courage and nobility of soul are preserved in the son by means of education and exercise, and if he marries a princess who is also noble and brave, those qualities will be transmitted to his grandson, and so on, until they become a genetic characteristic and pass organically into the flesh and blood. Thanks to a strict sexual selection, to the fact that highborn families have instinctively guarded themselves against marriage with their inferiors, and young men of high rank have not married just anybody. Lofty spiritual qualities have been transmitted from generation to generation in their full purity, have been preserved, and as time goes on, have, through exercise, become more exalted and lofty. For the fact that there is good in humanity, we are indebted to nature, to the normal, natural, consistent order of things, which has throughout the ages scrupulously segregated blue blood from plebeian. Yes, my dear boy, no low lout, no cook's son has given us literature, science, art, law, conceptions of honor and duty. For all these things, mankind is indebted exclusively to the aristocracy, and from that point of view, the point of view of natural history, an inferior Sobokovich, by the very fact of his blue blood, is superior and more useful than the very best merchant, even though the latter may have built 15 museums. Say what you like, and when I refuse to shake hands with a low lout or a cook's son, or to let him sit down to table with me, by that very act I am safeguarding what is the best thing on earth, and am carrying out one of Mother Nature's finest designs for leading us up to perfection.
Rashevitch stood still, combing his beard with both hands. His shadow, too, stood still on the wall, looking like a pair of scissors.
Take Mother Russia now,
he went on, thrusting his hands in his pockets and standing first on his heels and then on his toes.
Who are her best people? Take her first-rate painters, writers, composers. Who are they? They were all of aristocratic origin. Pushkin, Lermontov, Turgenev, Goncharov, Tolstoy. They were not sexton's children.
Goncharov was a merchant, said Meier.
Well, the exception only proves the rule. Besides, Goncharov's genius is quite open to dispute. But let us drop names and turn to facts. What would you say, my good sir, for instance, to this eloquent fact? When one of the mob forces his way where he has not been permitted before, into society, into the world of learning, of literature, into the zemstvo or the law courts, observe, nature herself, first of all, champions the higher rights of humanity, and is the first to wage war on the rabble. As soon as the plebeian forces himself into a place he is not fit for, he begins to ail, to go into consumption, to go out of his mind, and to degenerate. And nowhere do we find so many puny, neurotic wrecks, consumptives, and starvelings of all sorts as among these darlings. They die like flies in autumn. If it were not for this providential degeneration, there would not have been a stone left standing of our civilization. The rabble would have demolished everything. Tell me, if you please, what has the inroad of the barbarians given us so far? What has the rabble brought with it?
Rashevitch assumed a mysterious, frightened expression, and went on.
Never has literature and learning been at such a low ebb among us as now. The men of today, my good sir, have neither ideas nor ideals, and all their